All right, greetings. What's happening, everybody? Happy Saturday. Trying to get a new spot set up here with some better light and better acoustics. So we're gonna figure this thing out. We're gonna get really good at this. So we already got a couple people here. Sweet. Um, so yeah. Hopefully everybody had a chance to watch the latest video, the 7 most common jumping mistakes. I dug it. I thought it was really cool. The video I thought came out awesome. It was fun. It was lighthearted at times, but it got the point across. So that was the idea, was to have some fun with it, help people understand and recognize some of the common mistakes that I see. Now, what I realized when I was putting that one together was there are more than 7, but I was trying to keep it very simple. And what I thought was it's layered. So I looked at, okay, what's the first layer? And I felt like that was the first layer. Those 7 things were the first layer. For example, a lot of people, they don't really get into loading into the takeoff. There's a lot of nuance just with that piece. And what we're planning to do is go more in depth on that. So I figured those 7 were the base layer, and then we'll start layering on top of that and get a little bit more technical, and I think dive a little bit deeper. So again, trying to figure it out, trying to provide content for as many people as we can, like hit the masses, and then maybe bring some stuff that kind of digs in a little bit more for people like Jay, who they're getting pretty decent, but they want to go to that next level. And another thing that we're going to do is do it on a hardtail. So Mike asked right here, how do you load on a hardtail? You do the same. You load exactly the same as you would on a full suspension bike. You just don't have the benefit of the suspension in the rear. And so I think that's what might make the load piece even more important. So when I started jumping, it was fully rigid. I didn't have any suspension. I didn't have a fork. I didn't have rear suspension. And what you need to think about is, as the bike is coming into the takeoff, you're driving down through your heels. So you're even on a hardtail, you're using it. And what's great about a hardtail is you can push in, and it's a direct connection, basically. So you're pushing in, you're still pushing your feet as the front of the bike's coming up, and your arms are straight, and you're pulling back as you push through your feet. You're not lifting the bike up. So that's kind of a quick overview of what it's like. And I think we're probably going to do a video just on that. So it might be a shorter one, but at the same time, we will deal with that. Now, stop getting bucked. Yeah, that's one that I tried to cover that a little bit in the video. In my opinion, there's a couple things going on. The first is going to be from a rider perspective. If your weight is too far back, so if you come in and your weight's too far back over the bottom bracket, what's going to happen is you're going to load the rear more than you should. Then that's what's going to be bucking you over. If you come in neutral and you load it and your setup is good, you shouldn't have that issue. Now, the other piece of this could be a suspension setup issue. Rarely that's the case. The other issue is the jump that you're hitting, the takeoff. And this is, again, something else that I want to do a video on to explain to people. Great question by AS. Would you recommend buying a hopper to practice on? Yes, I would recommend a hopper very much. And the reason is the transition is great. And I would even recommend a Hopper Pro, because here's where it's very counterintuitive. Most people want to practice on a smaller jump. The problem with a smaller jump is if it's small and super steep, the transition, the dynamic that it creates is really aggressive, and the window is very small. So think about this. If you take that little jump and open it up and lessen the transition and make it a little bit longer, you have more time to deal with what's happening. You have a wider window to get your body in the right position. So if you can start thinking about that a little bit, I think some of you right now are going, wow, I hadn't thought about it that way. So there's a pendulum with that. Like you can't, going out and learning on something that's, um, 8 feet tall, I would not say do that. That could be a little bit sketchy. But I think if you find like where we shot this video, that jump, I think is really good for that. It's a really mellow transition, and it lets you get a real feel for what's going on and how that works. So that's why I like the MTB hopper. That's why it's the ride series ground school setup helps people make a lot of progression. Teaching somebody to jump is very difficult. And that's why most people won't do it. People who are coaches, entities that go out and travel around, it's a hard thing to teach because if you don't bring any implements, you're rolling the dice. If you're using a trail, if you're using some place that has a man-made jump, if you don't have like an MTB hopper to use to adjust it, it's very, very difficult. And what we do at the ride series is we use the hopper and we use the land wave landing ramps, and they're right together. So you can literally ride right over it. And so the idea is once you get used to the dynamics of coming off the takeoff and we give you some feedback, we'll slowly start to move the ramp back. So if you have that situation, we can slowly move the ramp back and you can start to build that data. Now you can find a place around you. There's got to be a place that has a jump that's halfway decent that you can start to learn on. And my best advice in that situation is don't try to go faster. Okay. Try to keep the same speed as you get comfortable and try to go higher. Then what you can do is come in a little bit slower and still try to get over. So if you think about this, if you're traveling X speed, okay, and you're clearing that jump, what I want you to do is try to go higher until you're going too far. Then you can slow down and keep trying to get over it. Because if you're still traveling X speed, but you keep going higher and higher, in theory, you should go a little further. So that's how you can slowly start to get yourself more comfortable with going up. And the way you do that is keep pulling back and keep driving your feet through. So the angle of the bike will start like this. Then it'll start going up higher and higher. And I'm going to upload probably tonight a couple videos a lot of videos on Instagram about this very thing. So I think that that'll help kind of clear some things up a little bit. So what else do we got? How do I land front wheel first without slamming the back end down? So Joe, great question. And it's a progression. So what you want to do is try to land just front wheel first. Okay, if you land just front wheel first and understand you want to dissipate through the bike, you can start doing that. But the other piece of it too is keep the bike with you. So this comes back to this being the base layer. If I was going to add an 8th mistake to this video, it would be slamming the bike down. So I see a lot of people, they come off a jump and they lift the bike into them and they push their hips back and then they slam the bike down. Let the bike come up and then kind of keep the bike with you and slowly let the bike land. And this is going to be very situationally dependent, but your arms and your knees are going to help it. That's how you're not going to slam the bike down. You're going to come in and the bike's going to be with you. You're going to set the front down and just have your knees soft and then let the front soak it up and the back will come down and you'll use your knees to absorb that. Probably something that I can break down on another layer, because the whole front wheel first thing, it doesn't feel right. It feels very foreign at first. I do not expect anybody to go, man, that felt great. Like I'll land front wheel all day. But if you watch some of the best riders in the world hit big, giant dirt jumps, you can't land rear wheel first. You'll loop out. You got to land front first. So the more you can be comfortable with it, the better you are going to be, because you're comfortable landing front wheel first. Here's the thing. Things go wrong jumping. And until you've experienced those things going wrong, you don't know how to fix them. So the first thing that has to happen is you have to get the data of something going wrong. Meaning you come in and your hips are too far back and you load up the rear and it bucks you. You have to realize, wow, that was a mistake. So do the exact same thing, but then come in with your hips over the bottom bracket and realize, whoa, the end result was way better. So you had to have that negative to understand what the problem was and make the correction. That is jumping. That's growth of jumping in a nutshell. You have to have those situations where you start collecting that data. So hopefully, the idea is these videos, if you really think about them, then you can understand the dynamics and the mechanics a little bit more, and then kind of think about, okay, what am I doing? What was the outcome? How can I fix that on the input? Like a prime example is everybody's like, man, I can take off, but I can't land. The problem's landing. How do I land? And my answer is you take off right. If you do everything right on the takeoff, the landing usually takes care of itself. So that's my theory on that. A couple ones here. Let's see. Your last videos helped me a ton. Started mountain biking 3 years ago. Tested out the inside pedal up. Nice. It does work. Awesome. That's great to hear. Yeah, described as land at an angle matching the landing surface. Totally. Yeah, that's what we strive for. So if a landing's like this, I want to land, let's call this angle 45 degrees. I would want to land at 46, if that makes sense. I just front wheel first is the perfect way for me. Now, it's going to be situationally dependent. Like there's times where when we filmed that video, we filmed a scrub video, and I'll tell you, I came ripping in one time and I was going way fast. It was more velocity. There was more energy than I was expecting. So I scrubbed it pretty well, but basically I was going too far. So I had to jam the back of the bike down to get it back down to the ground. That's a pretty advanced maneuver, and I think you'll realize those situations will come up. But I'd always tell everybody, try to match the landing. And that's the thing is, if there's not a landing, problem number one. If the landing is half the size of the takeoff, be careful, kind of an issue. So you got to think about all these things. Having trouble pulling back as loading, no pop. Man. Great question, Russell. Having trouble pulling back when you're loading, trying to get the pop. You could say it's maybe lack of commitment, but we're still trying to figure out an exercise and an implement to work just that. And right now it's the hopper, it's video, it's using slow motion video to try to give you feedback. And that's one thing you can try to do, but I don't know. Dexter, buddy, come here. You want to say hi? You can say hi. Come here.
Hi, this is my special Spider-Man.
Special Spider-Man. Dude, you got a little alfalfa going. Can you say hi to everybody?
Hi.
Can you say happy Saturday?
Happy Saturday.
Can you tell everybody what you were doing? Were you out shredding yesterday? All right, dude. I need to talk to people. I have 54 people I'm talking to. Okay, can you go back out with Mama? Please,
she's cooking.
It's okay. Can I have a kiss? Okay, I got to get back. What do you say to everybody?
Peace out, train dumper ice creams.
All right, good. Get out there. I love you. It wouldn't be a YouTube Live without an appearance from Little Shredder Boy. So, Russell, back to what you were saying, dude. Yeah, I think finding a jump that you're comfortable on is a great way to start doing that. If you can set a camera up and record yourself from the side and try to see if you can get your arms out straight, I think that's one of the best ways. But I'm still thinking about a better way to do it. And if I find that out, I'll let you know. So why do I start going sideways when I hit a jump with decent speed? Brandon, my guess would be pulling the bike up a little bit. Very common mistake. If you come in and you stop pedaling soon enough, you have level pedals, you're over the bottom bracket, you have a firm base. The only thing, if you're straight up, the only thing that would get you going side to side is if you lift the bike. And here's the problem is, When you lift the bike, rarely are you lifting at the exact same speed with both sides. It never fails. There's always one side or the other that's coming up first. And that could be any number of reasons, like if you've had a shoulder injury or something like that. And the problem is, once you lift up like that, a lot of people then will get fairly stiff. And the problem there is you'll just keep going. So if for some reason you lifted and got super stiff and the bike started to turn, the problem you're going to have there is if you don't get relaxed and turn the bars where you want to go, that's going to be a major issue. The other thing is, if the bike starts to go sideways, you can move it around. So that's the other reason why I tell people stay centered on the bike. If you're centered on the bike, you're in the best position 360 degrees to move around. And so if the bike starts to do something, let it go a little bit. Relax your hips, let the bike go, and then bring it back. At the very least, if anything goes wrong, point the bars where you want to go. You're going to give yourself the best possible opportunity to keep that thing upright and not have an issue. Joe, for whips, when do you initiate? Well, I can't tell you much except for wait about a week. Because when we shot this one, we also shot how to whip and how to scrub. Only thing we didn't shoot was how to nay-nay. So that's going to be coming later. We'll talk about that, and it'll be a good one. You're welcome, Brandon. That's one of the things that's very common. And what's crazy is I went out today and I saw a lot of people that were doing that same thing, yanking up and twisting sideways. So pull back would work on my bunny hop. Manual help with that motion. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities to it because with the manual, what you have to do is get really aggressive as you go back, and you really have to push down through your feet. And anything that can help you with that is going to be a good thing. The more you can understand what's happening when you push down, the better you're going to be. And understand too, this is a process. I can't stress that enough. I've said it so many times. This is your journey. And it's going to take you however long it's going to take you. Prime example is if you live here, there's so many spots. I literally ride down my street and I have 100+ miles of the most varied terrain in the world. When you have that at your disposal, it's a lot easier to get that data and get better and find those opportunities. So understand that you have to have the time. But the other piece of it too, I think, is when you watch these videos, any videos that, I mean, if they're videos, if the input that you're getting is solid, if you think about it and really try to visualize what you're doing. And I'll give you a great story. We went snowboarding a while back, and I'd never been snowboarding, but I watched a lot of videos. I watched the X Games, and I really thought about it and just thought about what needs to happen. You know, what are the dynamics involved? What are the physics involved? And we got an instructor, and we hopped out, and I started doing it. And the guy's like, dude, you've never done this? And I'm like, no, man, but I watched a lot of it on TV. And it's funny because for me, that just works. When I watch something and analyze it, it was the same in motocross. You know, I watched a lot of videos, and when I would go ride, I would try to emulate all those things. So I definitely think there's something to be said for one of that. And, you know, it's an awesome journey. And that's the thing that I get really excited about is the feedback from people that watching the videos have helped. They've led to some of these breakthrough moments. That's all I can ask for. I mean, as long as they're entertaining, I'm happy. But for people to actually get some solid improvement out of them, that gets me really, really fired up. So I'm happy with that. Keep spreading it as much as you can. The idea obviously is to grow this channel as much as possible. And we're doing really well, but the bigger we can grow it, the more people that see it, the more people it can help is my first hope. But I think the more people that see it, the more views we have, the more we can add value to other companies and hopefully get some companies to come in and help fund us to keep doing these things. So great question here from Crash Davis. Great name too. I struggle with lippy jumps when I pull back the bars and load the suspension. I feel like I either absorb the takeoff or get bucked. Dude, yes, I can see that right now. The problem with those jumps, when they're lippy like that, the transition is usually abrupt. So that's what I came back to. And again, this is something that I'm gonna break down a little bit more in a future video. But what you can do in that situation is slow down. So take that lippy jump that you're familiar with, slow down. Okay, kind of start from ground zero and slowly build up your speed to get comfortable with the dynamic that it's giving you. So in that situation, your input and your reaction to what the lip is doing to you and the bike, you need to be very quick about dealing with that. You can't hesitate. You can't question. You have to be confident. So part of that, I think, kind of like segues into scrubbing almost. So when it's super lippy like that, you sometimes need to dissipate some of that energy. And I'm going off what's here. So here there are a decent amount of jumps that are super short with a really steep transition. So they're short height-wise, but they're short distance-wise. So you're coming in with a decent amount of speed. What you want to do is absorb that takeoff as much as you can to stay low. So the scrub video is going to help you with that. And part of it, I think, is standing a little bit taller and letting the bike come into you versus trying to load up. So if you think about it, hopefully this makes sense. If it's super peaky and short, you don't have a whole lot of time to get to deal with what's happening. So hopefully that makes sense. Rocco, I know, man. I'm trying to build the Shopify right now, and I'm trying to get all of that because I know I want everybody to be able to get one of these or one of those shirts. So I'm really trying hard to get that handle. So hopefully Monday, Tuesday, and I got some new shirts coming, some cool colors. I'm going to show this, give you guys the inside scoop. So you're asking about the MTB hopper right there. Go direct to MTB hopper. So contact them. And I think they're having a shipping deal right now, but it's mtbhopper.com. You get it direct from them. So I want to show you guys like a cool little sneak peek. We're going to do a limited edition shirt, so all 54 of you. So hopefully you can see that right there. So that right there is going to be the limited edition shirt, and that is me. That's what's on the side of the van. So I'm pretty fired up about that. Shaded, I don't understand why you don't have 100,000 followers. That would be awesome. That's the goal. That's what we're shooting for, and hopefully it happens. You know, at this point, I can honestly say we started this probably December. So we're 5 months in. We're pushing close to 17,000. I'm happy with it. I think it's good. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and I think that we're going to slowly grow this, and it's going to be good. You know, we have a lot of ideas. There's so many things we can do content-wise. It's just a matter of figuring out how best to do it. Like this setup right here, I think we can do something better with the streaming piece. So we're working on that. So yeah, we're getting there. Yeah, I think the hopper, they're getting super popular, so it might be a little bit difficult, but just stay on them. I think you can give them an email and they'll get back to you when they have them in stock. So Cole, what all bikes do you own, and what do you think about your truss fork on the Pivot? So right now, what do I have right now? I have a Pivot Vault, so a really cool gravel bike. And that's something that we're going to get a lot into that. So the gravel space is going to grow. My plan is to get deep into gravel and try to get super fit and be prepared to do some sort of race at the end of the year. I also have a Da Vinci Django, which is awesome. And I have a Da Vinci Troy. So those are the only bikes I have right now. All my pivots were sold. The trussed fork, I had that Shout on my 5.5. It was rad. It was an awesome fork. It's very different. And if you don't ride to maximize the advantages of that fork, it's not going to do you any good. The main issue with that fork is it's very different. So if you have multiple bikes, and you have it on one bike and not on the other, it's really hard to bounce back and forth because you have to adapt your riding style to it. So yeah, right now, those are the only bikes I have. The idea is to bring some more in to ride and demo. This video was shot on a Specialized stump jumper, and I had one for 3 days, and I really liked that bike. So I'm trying to get a long-term pivot switchblade demo, and then at the same time try to get a Specialized stump jumper that I can get on and ride and kind of go back and forth between those two. But they're good bikes. So what else do we have here? Bringing back the 70s and 80s. You know it, like the 80s. Ride Series North, East Coast. I would like to. Let's spend a few minutes talking about the Ride Series, and then we're probably gonna wrap this up here in a little bit. I got the fam out there. So the Ride Series, I decided this year to go full time on the Ride Series, and it was it's a bummer that we're in this situation because that is my main source of revenue. So right now we're obviously on hold with that, but the idea was at the end of the year to try to grow the Ride Series as much as we could. I don't think that's going to happen now. I can't say for sure because we don't know what's going on. Now, Joseph asked about Colorado. I am really hoping this year to get to Colorado. So we're based in Bentonville, Arkansas, and then we also have a setup in Phoenix, Arizona. So my brother is in Phoenix. And when I say a setup, we do a ground school. So the thing about the Ride Series that makes it stand apart, among other things, is we bring in all of these implements. So you're in a big, giant grass field. You don't have to worry about anything. We have as much control as possible with that setup. So turning, lifts, drops, jumps, all that stuff. So I have that full setup here, and we have one in Phoenix. I would love to go as far as we can, but right now it's Bentonville, so Northwest Arkansas. We're going all throughout Texas because I can drive straight down, and then Phoenix and maybe Sedona. So Southern Utah, we can make work. Definitely, I would like to do that, as well as Colorado. And then I would love to get to the East Coast. That's what we're going to try to do. We really are. It's going to be, there's so much going on from Miami, Southern Florida, all the way up. So at some point, we're going to make that work. I don't know if we'll be able to do it at the end of this year, but it may have to be in 2021. But what I can say is, a trip down to Texas, the Dallas area, or Bentonville. I mean, the thing about Bentonville is it's not the easiest to get into, to fly into, but if you can get here, we can have an amazing time doing a clinic and then going and riding. So I think for a lot of people asking, that might be the easiest way to ever partake in a Ride Series, at least for now. So you could plan a 4-day weekend, come in, do a Ride Series on a Thursday or a Friday, and then have the weekend to ride and experience what the Oz Trails are all about. And what I want to do is give a turnkey package for that. So you can come in for 3 or 4 days. We can get you a place to stay. We can get your bike if you need to, all your gear, do the skill work, and then take you all around to these different trails, let you experience the amazing coffee, all that stuff. So the Ride Series is growing. Just trying to get an idea of what we're looking at moving forward and the best way to do it. How old are you? How old do I look? This right here, I should shave that off because it's aging me a little bit. I am 42. So 42, I generally don't feel like it. Last night we had a lot of pizza and we had bagels this morning, so I'm kind of feeling it right now. But 42, I started racing BMX when I was 5, and I have been on a bike my entire life for the most part. So it's something that for me, I have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours on a bike, but I also have a lot of experiences with people that are amazing. So we grew up in Southern California. My brother's 7 years older than me, raced BMX, then raced motocross for a while. And my brother rode at the highest level. So I've been pretty blessed to have ridden a lot of different places with a lot of people who are really, really good on bikes. And I relish those opportunities. Like Sedona was a prime example, to be able to ride with Kyle Warner and Joey Foresta and do that game of bike. Just such a cool experience to watch those dudes oh man, they're just amazing riders. Like when you see somebody who's at that level, it gives you such an appreciation for what can be done on a bike, and it makes you want to strive to get better. But you have to do it where you are. Like I'm never going to be Kyle Warner. I'm never going to be Joey Foresta. But what it made me do was get a little outside of my comfort zone and look at where I can get better. And that's always a good thing. I think when you get complacent and think, oh, I'm good, I don't need to worry about it, that's a bad thing. Bikes, one of the greatest things about it is you can always get better. You're never going to master these basics. So hopefully everybody's journey involves that. It's the spots. Like I stopped today and sessioned a spot for about 30 minutes. It was this really hard left-hand turn kind of climbing up, and it was tough. I only got it a couple times, and I tried it probably 20. So I think I'll go out there with a couple cameras and film that so everybody can see. But yeah, fun stuff. Can you talk about the bike you were on in the 7 Mistakes video? I can't, Amy. It was in that video. It was a medium stump jumper, a medium S-Works stump jumper, and you got to see it a little bit. That was one of three of those bikes in the world. So they're limited edition Oz Trails bikes. So they have a unique paint job. They're really cool. It's okay. So Marshall, then it's a couple important people own those bikes, and they're rad. So I got to ride that, and then I got to ride a large S-Works stump jumper, full XTR. Great bike. I was super impressed. Everybody knows stump jumper is a good bike. Let's be real here. A lot of these bikes, $2,500, $3,000 and up, they're good bikes. It's just a matter of what do you like, what speaks to you. And man, I liked that stump jumper a lot. I got on it and instantly felt comfortable. And for me, it's finding spots that I ride a lot. Like, for example, I went into the top of All American and I was able to manual through the whole top of it. I've never been able to do that before on any bike. So to me, that's saying something. And then it's also the comfort level I had as I was riding it. So very fun. Looking forward to hopefully getting one for a little bit longer and doing some long-term testing on it. So yeah, the Bentonville experience, we're trying to put all the pieces together. It's such a cool place. It really is. And it's hard. Words can't do it justice. You need to be here and you need to experience it, because it's not just the trails. Like, are they the best trails in the world? I don't think so. I think that it's the sheer volume of trails. There's hundreds of miles, but it's the accessibility. I can ride out of my garage, go down the street, and in less than a mile be on dirt. And that's the gateway to like 140 miles of soft surface trail. So, it's a really cool place. There's amazing coffee. There's amazing food. There's amazing art. And I don't know if everybody understands it, but, Bentonville is the home of Walmart. So most people understand that, but I don't think they realize that the vendor community for Walmart brings in some of the highest level people in the world. And you need to service those people. You need to have things for those people. So that's where all of this really high-end service aspect comes in. I mean, it's a very metropolitan town in Northwest Arkansas. So yeah, very cool. And I'd love to get more people here. So, all right, we're going to wrap this up here. I told Mama Bear it would only be 30 minutes and we're going on 34. So, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I want to do more of these. I think next week we're probably going to do a couple more, and I got a couple things coming, some bike stuff. So I'll let everybody on here know. I did the one ride bike breakdown on the Giant Trans E, and they reached out and said, man, we'd love to see what you think about a Rain E. So I'm really excited. Next week, I'll go down to Lewis and Clark, the big Giant dealer here, and I'll pick up a Rain E. So starting next week, I'll be on that Rain E. I'll do a one ride bike breakdown, and I'll start my foray into the e-bike world. I have very little time on an e-bike, so I'm excited to get on it, see what I think, and fingers crossed, I'm going to have a couple more coming. So I want to do, if I can get 4 or 5 e-bikes, do my own little e-bike shootout here in Northwest Arkansas. So yeah, some cool things coming with kind of the social distancing and the way things are now. I'm going to be doing a lot more on my own with cameras and just setting them up. So going to have a lot more content coming. It's not going to be at the level that Brock does, like you just saw, but it'll still be good. So, well, cool. I think that's it. Have a great weekend. I'm really stoked. 50 people. That's rad. Still, it kind of just, it's crazy to think that 50 people would want to get on and listen to what I have to say on a Saturday afternoon. So I love it. Everybody have a great weekend. Stay positive. Really try to make somebody smile if you can, especially right now. So, all right. Peace out, dumpers.